All right, what's up, my brothers? We got a very popular video. It's been trending right now on the internet. It's a lady in Toronto who is, I guess, highlighting or trying to cope in some sense or regard with her single life. This is very near and dear and close to me because I've dated lots of women that look like this. I call them Becky, and I'll explain a little bit more, but let's watch it together and I'll react after.
Day in the life of a single woman who doesn't believe in marriage or want children. I spent most of my adult life in a long-term partnership that was safe and comfortable, but deep down I was starving for emotional connection. For years, I ignored my gut feeling that I was deeply unhappy and hoped it would somehow magically get better. At the time, I couldn't fathom being happily single because I didn't even know it was a possibility. I'd never seen it represented before, not in the movies or shows that I watched or the stories I read, and most women I knew were either in a relationship or wanted one. Leaving was incredibly scary, but there was not a single morsel of regret once I finally ripped the band-aid off. Now I wake up every single day with immense gratitude that I'm no longer desperately trying to force an intimate connection with someone who can't reciprocate. Doesn't mean that I don't want to be in a partnership ever again, but I have zero desire to have children, so I'm comfortable waiting it out. In the current political and economic climate, there is no guarantee that I can successfully raise a child with the life of abundance they deserve, and I'm enjoying spending my hard-earned money on me. Until I meet someone who can lift me up and add value to my life, I refuse to settle because I've done it already and it's not worth it. No, I'm not worried about if a man will find me attractive when I'm older or about repopulating the planet, and I'm also not worried about dying alone. Statistically, women live longer than men anyway, and having a child just so they can hold my hand on my deathbed seems selfish and unsustainable. My ancestors sacrificed a lot for me to exercise the privilege of freedom and choice, and I choose to honor their legacy by putting myself first every single day.
Oh, well, I wonder what the comments say. There's 11,000 comments on this one. First one says, congratulations, you live like most men. And the next one says your ancestor would want you to keep your bloodline going. And then it goes back and forth. Some people really hate her. Some people obviously praise her and love her. She has a very popular Instagram account and following. It's quite interesting because, like I said earlier, I dated a lot of women that look and act like this from Toronto. These women are brutal. They're insufferable. So a little bit of feedback here. This is, first of all, a major cope. It is a huge cope. She's trying to hold out. You know, I always say humans love complicating their life and then justify why they do it. And this is exhibit A. Complicate life, justify why. I can't find a man. My life is complex. So now I'm going to make this video and justify why I'm now single and why I'm happy being single and always going to be childless and never reproduce, and that's just the way that I am. These women live paycheck to paycheck in generally expensive condos that they can barely afford, furnished in IKEA furniture with some basic degree framed in mahogany on the wall, going to perform a task in an office that really wouldn't matter. I mean, if that job was eliminated around the world today, nobody would notice like 3 months from now. They all have the same sort of like attitude about being so great in Toronto. Toronto is I think the third largest city in North America, if I'm not mistaken, behind New York and LA, and before Chicago. It is a big city. This is exactly what it looks like. It looks like this out the window. In fact, I could honestly say that I've seen that view out of a girl's window before in the morning with her pulling the drapes up like she did in the morning. You know, the standard coffee mixture and the lattes and the fucking $37 salad and $17 can of whatever the hell she's drinking in that thing where she goes, look at me, I'm drinking my can of whatever. This is a massive, massive cope. They're broke. They're sad. They have a bizarre social network that is completely driven on this hierarchy. It's like a house of cards, right? Like, you know, we meet up and we do all these things and it's like, you know, nobody wants to pay the bill, or it's like, you know, they kind of like scringe, or they want to go home and drink over there. And they, you know, you saw in hers, you know, she's got that dolly, you know, that like liquor cart. I'll have my editor, you know, cut to that screen so you can see it up on the screen right now quite and clearly, because a lot of this stuff sort of flashed through. But they have these liquor carts in their apartment, like stacked with, you know, 10%, 20% full bottles of liquor. It's almost like they'll drink them down to 10% and put them on the thing and then open up another one to make it look like they got something going on. Vast, copious amounts of alcohol consumption are very, very common. Very, very promiscuous. Lots of, like, a revolving door at the front of the building is pretty common. Guys coming and going. You know, they hold out that they're happy and successful and look at me in the big city and all that sort of stuff. Toronto's a shithole. It's a woke, liberal, expensive, highly taxed, overpriced, cold in the wintertime, not even that long summer, but it's a bit of a shithole. It has some perks to it, but if I'm being honest, living in, you know, like, it's in my backyard. living in this city for this long, I avoid going downtown Toronto as much as possible. The people are insufferable. They still wear masks. You know, you go downtown and there's still people walking around sitting in restaurants wearing masks. It's just a weird, bizarre place. And to hold that to the public and make this like production video, which I think it had close to 1 million views on it, about how she's happy that she's single, and I don't have a connection with a man, and I'm happy being by myself, and my ancestors fought for me to be happy like this with choice. It's like, dude, you're a failure to your bloodline. Like, acting like you won't settle. Settle for what exactly? Settle for what? Who do you think you are? You're nothing that special that I can see, you know. So what if you have your little condo and your little lattes and you're open up my Apple MacBook and I'm gonna pour my and light a candle sort of thing. Like, so what? Like, that doesn't impress most men. The kind of guys that these women that cope, you know, the kind of guys that they're looking for, they're generally successful, tall, competent, influential, they got a good social network, they're interesting, they're funny, they do cool things. They're not interested in inviting like an average at best chick into their life over a long-term basis that's insufferable, that thinks that they're special or you're more special than what they actually are. I'm not trying to be disparaging. It's just a statement of fact. And I feel sad for these, you know, ladies, you know, for these girls where they you know, get to a place where, you know, where life just looks like, you know, getting up, stretching, open up the MacBook, buying a $37 salad, doing a little bit of yoga for a minute. And again, this is all for the camera. What is she doing when the camera's not on? She's sitting there underneath the blanket on her couch, probably with a cat or 3, and watching some bullshit fucking bachelorette something or another where, you know, 30 women compete for one guy, and then publishes a video looking for some validation from the public for her decisions and choices. I don't think it's anything to aspire to. I don't think it's anything to praise. And there's a lot of praise in the comments. There's a lot of you know, comments along the lines like, you know, you go girl, and I'll have my editor you know, find some of the best ones and put them up on the screen for you. But that is a reality of the world that we live in today. Complicate life, justify why. It's not just women that do it. It's not just men that do it. We all do it. We all do it in different ways. But it's an incredibly sad turn of events where the sexes are encouraged to just basically live in a glass cell box in the sky. Because that's what it is. Like, you're a carbon copy. I remember I had a condo downtown and I rented it out for a few years. It was a massive pain in the ass. The tenants were always, I'm not even getting into the stories, but I was so happy to get out of that place. I gave the city the bird before I left, to get out of owning it, you know, is what I'm saying. I didn't actually live in it. It's just one of those things where I don't understand the comforting lies that people are telling each other to placate the bad choices and the disappointment that they have in their lives. Look inwardly. Look at yourself and ask yourself, why are men not committing to me? Why am I not able to get what I want out of life? But that doesn't usually happen with women. It's, you know, it's a sad reality. I've been doing this podcast show on my Unplugged Alpha podcast channel called Ladies Night, co-host with Moff. Some of you may have seen. If you haven't, you know, you should definitely subscribe to the channel. Put a card up in the top right. We do this every Monday night at 8 p.m. And we talk to a lot of women, and like large panels over the last several months. I mean, it's coming up on a year now. And it's always the same outcome. It's always the same result. It's always the same group of, you know, women. I call them Becky. There's actually a chapter in the book that I'm working on right now where I talk about this avatar of Becky and like the sad outcome of these gals and what they're creating for themselves. It's like none of the guys that they want care anything about their liquor cabinet with 10% of the bottles filled, their $37 salads, their 2 minutes of stretching with yoga. Like, she's not even that fit. Like, I wouldn't even describe that as a fit gal. Average, you know, at best. So it's like, what's the point in putting on the yoga gear and doing the stretches if you don't do it on a consistent basis, and you're not like by the time you're in your 30s, you should be in pretty good shape, but it's not something that you should be working on. And it's like a completely sad state of affairs. And I see why it happens, you know, society, culture, everything's been telling women, you go girl, you climb the corporate ladder, you need a man like a fish needs a bicycle, don't ever do anything for the express pleasure of men, you know, blah, 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 like the entire narrative. Is this common in the city that you live in? I'm curious. Leave a comment below. Have you met a version of a Becky like this? Because it just seems like a sad outcome. It's a division of the sexes. It doesn't encourage a us to be together, because I think that we're better together than we are apart, it discourages. And you can see why women are so disagreeable and, you know, like, I'm fine, guys. I don't need anything. I'm not going to settle unless I find exactly what I'm looking for. And then you've got guys that are like, I can't get anything because women's standards are like blown out of proportion because they think that they're worth more. I mean, why wouldn't her ego be through the roof? Make a video, get praised by a bunch of girls, you go, like, women fluff each other up, right? Oh yeah, they pat themselves on the back. They love the smell of their own farts, right? And then, you know, guys come along and they speak some truths and they get called misogynist and then blocked in the timeline. And then they don't get the opportunity to meet with women. And then the super attractive guys, like the very highly successful, like the top 5 to 1% of guys out there that all women are basically pining for. They think there's an army of them hidden somewhere in some forest in the fields out over there, and one day they're going to come out and find them, but they just don't exist, because the vast majority of men, if they're successful, competent, rich, good looking, tall, and all that sort of stuff, they're not dealing with chicks like this. They have better options, far more attractive options, and they usually don't commit to just one woman. They're usually dealing with a bunch of them. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I thought that was an interesting video when that dude sent it over to me the other day. I wanted to comment on it because it's very close and near and dear to my heart, because I did deal with that chick multiple times on multiple different occasions. The other thing that I found that was incredibly funny, before I wrap up, since I'm a car guy and I'm sitting in my ride right now, is they're always talking about how proud they are of their life and their condo and their car and all that sort of stuff. And the last gal that I dated, she went on forever about her convertible Lexus. It was like an IS 250 convertible or some shit like that. And the entire thing, every panel in the car was scratched, dented, bent, or something, and the rear bumper was like all collapsed in. And it's just like, how can you be proud of a car that looks like that? Anyway, you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Pin in the top one. There's links to some important stuff like my book. If you haven't read The Unplugged Alpha, get it. My community, a bunch of other interesting things. We'll see you guys later. Peace out.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.